What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. If you love the video, please like it. If you hate the video, please dislike it and tell me why in the comments. As the title says, perception matters more than reality. I'm really making this video to talk to black people more than anybody. Like, it applies to everybody, but I was just thinking to myself, I'm talking to black people more because I see a lot of people that look like me that think reality is more important than perception. Perception is the only thing that matters. The way you look is everything. The way you look is the way people see you and label you. If you wear a suit, you look like a businessman. If you put on a basketball uniform, you look like a basketball player. The way you look matters. And I'm making this video because I always hear people talk about white privilege, which I think to an extent white privilege is a thing, but you got to understand I went to high school with only white people. So I understand the perspective that they have because most of the time when they get pulled over by the police, they look like they're not doing anything. See what I'm saying? Now, where the white privilege would come in is when the police let them off when they're doing shit. That's white privilege. But I was just thinking to myself, they might as well put in the police's job description that profiling is part of it, because that's what the police do. They profile you, right? Everybody they pull over, the second they start talking to you, the interaction, I can tell you, as soon as the police see me dressed nicely, slacks, shirt, nice shoes, nice car, as soon as the police see that you look like you're not doing anything, they immediately are ready to fuck off. They're like, okay, man, just slow down. On the inverse, when you get pulled over and you look like you're doing something, it doesn't matter if you are or not, because once that man is made up, or that woman has made up in their mind that you're doing something, they'll never let it go. I'll give you a story. One time my mom told me that she stopped to see if there was anything going on with this guy who got pulled over by the cops. It was this dude in the military or something, driving a rental car across state lines. Everybody that knows about drugs and drug trafficking knows the cops know what people do on the interstates, bro. Anybody in a rental car by themselves on the highway with no luggage really, and the cops pull you over, they think you have drugs in the car. Like, there's nothing you can tell them to say why you don't have drugs in the car. And this guy was black. So the police searched his car up and down and did all this extra shit when he's a perfectly law-abiding citizen. But it's like, there's nothing you can tell them. There's no drugs in the car. Now, keep in mind, the reason that this is not a race issue, even though it would appear to be, is that a white man could be in a rental car by himself, no luggage. Like, that's what a drug mule looks like. The perception matters more than the reality, right? That guy was minding his business. He was a distinguished employee for the federal government. But because the cops pulled him over and he checked off the boxes for a drug mule, they decided that he's doing something. If I start walking around with ripped up jeans, Jordans, sagging my pants, car smelling like weed, busted ass car, and I get pulled over, well, now the police are going to immediately assume, based on the perception, that I'm doing something. Perception matters much more than the reality of a situation. What somebody perceives and what they see outweighs what it is, because we can only make a decision based on perception a lot of times. When you see somebody on the street, you have to go on what they look like, right? Like, if you see, sometimes you be like, oh man, that dude looks mad sketchy. Might be the nicest guy in the world, but he looks sketchy. A lot of people used to tell me, oh, I look mean. You look mean. People perceive, and then it turns out I'm very nice. And they're like, man, you look just really mean. So basically, that's perception. Perception matters more than reality. The most common example, the girl in high school who got their nudes passed around by one dude, or the girl who had sex with one dude, and this dude went around and told everybody, now everybody thinks she a slut. This woman might have had sex one time her whole life, but now the perception is she's a slut. The reality of the situation makes no difference. Oftentimes it makes zero difference. People don't look at anything with any kind of nuance or any kind of fine-tooth comb to really go through something and see what it is. You know, look at headlines. When you see a headline, how many people are really going to go look at it deeper and see if it's bullshit? That's where you get, quote, fake news, because all you got to do is show people something, a headline, and they immediately believe it to be true, no matter what it is. Like, you know what I mean? People would just believe stuff to be true. I just want to say that because as a black man, I've never really just had any problems with the police. When the police pull me over and I get out of the car and shake the man or the woman, but you generally, most officers are probably men, and I get out of the car and shake the man's hand, and say, how you doing, officer? How you doing tonight, man? He's like, you know, it automatically puts his guard down, right? Because he perceives me to be probably a law-abiding citizen. You look like a criminal, you might as well be a criminal. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it probably quacks like a duck. This shit is so important when you start having a conversation about privilege, right? You got to look at the other factors involved in those situations. You know what I mean? If you look like a drug dealer, people are going to treat you like a drug dealer. Like, that's the main example. But it's like, if you look like a thug, people gonna treat you like a thug. If you look like a businessman, people gonna treat you like a businessman with the utmost respect. People, you put a suit on and walk around, people gonna treat you like you're important, because it doesn't matter. You could be a goddamn janitor. You put a suit on, I promise you, a good fitting suit on, and go walk around town, people gonna treat you like you something, because perception matters more than reality. You can really use that to manipulate your way through life, right? You can really, and don't feel like, I used to feel like, oh, I don't have anything to prove to anybody. Fuck that, bro. You gotta show people, okay, I'm like, you pick how people perceive you. You pick how people perceive you. With the exception of a few certain things, you pick how people perceive you. The clothes you wear, the way you behave, the way you talk is an indicator. The way that you speak is an indicator for people, how they perceive you. The way you move your body, the way you walk and talk and dress, the way you move. People perceive that in certain ways. When you walk down the street and you about to pass a motherfucker up, you size them up. Subconsciously maybe, but you're doing it. So perception is so important. And don't just take for fact that just because, oh, well, I look like this and I look like that and I look like this, but people need to get to know me. No, people don't need to get to know you, and most people will never get to know you. So you have to work on tuning the way that you represent yourself to the world, because if not, the way people perceive you is what they'll tag you as. And you'll never get rid of that fucking tag. The guy my mom saw that got pulled over, and she had stopped to help, like, see if he was in trouble or something. This guy showed him his badge and all this other stuff, and these cops were like, we don't give a fuck. You're in a rental car with no luggage, and keep in mind, he doesn't know where he's at, and they're asking him why he's not on the interstate, why is he on the highway, and he's like, I don't know, bro, I'm just going where the GPS took me. To them, in their minds, they perceive, okay, if you go look at every press report, damn near, of drug busts on the highway, it's always one guy in a rental car with no luggage. That's a red flag to the police. If you don't believe me, go get a rental car and go drive it on the interstate across state lines by yourself with no luggage. Automatically, it doesn't matter what you do, they finna rip the car apart. They're gonna check the spare tire, they're gonna check under the hood, they're gonna check everywhere, because you look like a drug mule. And that's why the police patrol highways, because they're looking for drugs. They ain't just looking to give a bunch of speeding tickets. They trying to catch niggas with dope. Because he didn't understand the perception, right? It never occurred to him, really, that was the case. He didn't understand how they were perceiving him. That's also another thing. You have to understand how people perceive you. Don't just say it's because I'm black, and don't just assume because you're black, but you have to, and if you believe in racial stereotypes, that means you need to constantly adjust yourself to compensate for them. Like, I know when I go places, if I have a job interview, I need to look better than everybody else because I'm black. My clothes need to be fitting better, iron better. I need to smell better, look better, talk better, be smarter. And my mom and my parents have told me since I was young, since you black, you always gonna have to do more. And that's why I said this video is mostly for the black people, because I feel like we have this ideology where we feel like perception doesn't matter. We feel like, oh, well, because I don't sell drugs, I can look like I sell drugs and people are not gonna bother me. Right? But that is not the case. That is absolutely not the case. Let me tell you something, man. When I started dressing better and taking care of myself, bro, people just treat you better, bro. I know a guy. Fuck with this guy. I hope he's watching the video. I know this guy. And I remember, bro, I saw him at the club one night, bro. And I thought he was his brother. And he was like, bro, you thought I was, bro. He was like, you thought I was blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, bro. I was like, damn, you lost a lot of weight. So this man lost, he lost a significant amount of weight. Enough weight probably to be another person. Like, enough to make you think he's a completely different person. And I was like, I bet you people treat you better now, don't they? When you level up, when you look better, when you lose weight, when you do things to better yourself, the world then in turn treats you better. And that's perception. It's the same thing. It's not fair, but it is the way it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments about this, especially if there's anybody black watching, because this is something that I feel strongly about, because for me, I've done a lot of illegal shit and like never really had any problems when I ran into the police, because especially the way I talk and the way I look, I feel like the police they just have this sixth sense. But sometimes you can fuck over, like a lot of people I know like a lot of white people that know how to look like innocent. You see what I'm saying? They know how to look like they're not doing shit. And we don't really have that. Like, we just gotta be like, yeah, bro, I'm doing me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really have the good boy mode. Like, all my white friends, they come around they got that good boy mode. They put that good boy mode on. Women too, they put that good girl mode on. shit, they'll cry for the cop. They don't give a fuck. Like, so I'm just saying, you know, this is something I feel strongly about, that perception is absolutely the key to success in life. It's not, maybe not, might not be the key, but it is the shortcut to get in where you want to go the fastest. So like I said, if y'all love the video, like it. If you hate the video, dislike it. Either way, let me know in the comments.